Now I'm starting my position as the Director of Sales and Marketing at the Courtyard LAX with Sunstone Hotels. Now, I had been a part of opening a hotel as a housekeeping manager years prior, but had never been a part of a situation where we were rebranding a hotel, coming from a independent hotel to a nationally known brand. But I was up for the challenge. It was definitely interesting. It was definitely educational. It was challenging. It was all that and more. One thing I can say as I look back on my experience now, Sunstone Hotels really had their stuff together, okay? From the team, with working with Sue Gregory as my VP of Sales and Marketing. They, step by step, we knew what was going to happen. It wasn't like you were just thrown out there and said, hey, figure it out. No, step by step, they were there to assist you, with, certain things that you needed, because Marriott needs a lot of things in order for them to sign off on this rebranding, right? So from day one, I had an agenda, so to speak, from Sunstone, from Marriott, as to what we needed to do in order to get started with the rebranding. But prior to the rebranding, we were still operating as a Regency Plaza hotel, which was an independent hotel, which was struggling at that time. I want to say that hotel was doing probably 35 to 40% when I got there. One thing I forgot to mention, yes, I was walked. Same day that I gave my notice, I got walked to the Regency Plaza, which was okay. So upon starting at the Regency Plaza, I'm not sure if the entire management team was put together yet, but I just remember me being there, and then John Gandolfo, who was our general manager, Kim Chepa was my, senior sales manager at that time, who later became the director of sales after I had left, and Marcel Stain, he was our front office director or manager, and then Gabriel, I can't think of what Gabriel's last name, but he was our chief engineer, a young chief engineer, I might add. We didn't have a lot of time to be screwing around with this whole thing, so we had to hit the ground running, and I want to say we had maybe 4 to 6 months for the rebranding to take place, and my memory could be a little wrong, but it was, you didn't have time to do anything. You had time to get kind of indoctrinated with the Courtyard system. If you didn't have that already in your background, which I did, but still, I came from operations with Courtyard. I was never in sales with Courtyard, so it was a totally different thing with the selling, the marketing part of it, the branding, all that was brand new. So my learning curve was, wasn't as great as I thought it was going to be, or thought it should be. I knew the brand, the product, and all that, but as far as selling it, that was totally different. But quickly got indoctrinated with it and kept it moving. Now, for people that are keeping score, you guys know I've been to 14 different hotels. This was hotel number 7 for the people that are keeping score. So moving forward from that, you guys know what a tatami room is, or tatami beds? That was the motif for that hotel, for the Regency Plaza. They had a lot of Japanese-inspired guest rooms, suites, just decorations and things like that. So more or less we had to take care of that stuff, meaning that was not in the scheme of things for any Courtyard. So we didn't do any renovation for the most part. We just did, a lot of soft case goods, replacing some of the things that were Japanese inspired, and kind of went to the more traditional Courtyard at that time. So there was no, tearing out walls or major renovation. It was basically soft renovation and some hard stuff, like meaning, case goods and things like that. So, but still, took some time to organize and make sure we got those things taken care of prior to the rebranding. that courtyard, the courtyard LAX, right there on, what is it, on Vicksburg and 98th. Of course, it's still there today, right? It's still a courtyard. 180 rooms, two meeting spaces or two meeting rooms. I want to say maybe roughly 1,100 square feet for both of them. But just a busy hotel when it became a courtyard. Now, remember I mentioned as a Regency Plaza, it was doing about 30 to 40% occupancy. There was no one in that hotel. Fast forward to when we got to the point where we were going to turn the switch on to be a Marriott, and I mean literally turn the switch on, and the phones went crazy. So we went from, I'm gonna say 35% to 80% overnight. So, of course, you had to make sure your staff was, up and running, trained and ready to basically, take on what was going to happen. And at those days, you want to make sure, and a lot of courtyards still do this, where a lot of the managers are trained or cross-trained, meaning they're trained in the food and beverage department, they're trained in front office, especially when you have a line of people checking in. So we want to make sure, or Marcel, our front office manager, as well as John Gandolfo, our general manager, made sure all managers, supervisors were trained on the front desk, checking people in, checking people out, taking care of issues that can come up. So that was one good thing that I learned, being at the courtyard. Even if I was in sales, even if I had other things to do, if you walked by the desk and there was a line, you jumped in and helped out. Boy, the power of Marriott, or being a Marriott brand. People don't understand unless you worked at a Marriott property that was another brand before and turned over to be a Marriott, or converted, or brand conversion or whatever. That was the first I've ever experienced. To see a hotel go from, 35% to about, I want to say 80, 85, it wasn't 85 initially, 80 to 82% overnight, and then consistently 80%, and then all of a sudden we're in the 90s and selling out, most nights. It was crazy. We ended up the year, I want to say 94%. Okay, so I mean, the power of that brand is ridiculous. It's sick. And that wasn't all transient business, right? I mean, a good percentage of it was transient, but of course you're always going to take, probably 15%, 20% group business. We had to turn groups away because we were only 180 rooms, remember? And so our average size guest room blocks for a group was probably 15 to 30 rooms a night, something like that. Just depending on what was going on. Weekends were okay because weekends, the demand for transit rooms was a little less. So weekends we're able to take, some of those groups, some reunion groups, and but during the week we did have a couple, because we're near all the, what do you call them, the aerospace companies. So we did have some smaller groups, military groups, things like that. So I got indoctrinated with those because I had never worked at airport property before. LAX has a lot of those businesses around there. So it basically opened my eyes and gave me experience in dealing with those particular groups. But, overall, that experience was great. Wouldn't have traded that for the world. The support that I got from not just Marriott, of course, but from Sunstone, who was the company I work for. It was just a great experience all the way around, from when I got hired to when I started to, going through, the brand conversion to actually becoming a courtyard. It was, the experience was great. And like I said, I would not have exchanged that for any experience in the world. So after about 18 months of being at the courtyard LAX, I was asked to move to another hotel. And the courtyard was doing well. It was doing phenomenal. I think we ended up, I said the first year, I said about 94%. And I think the next year in the mid 90s, something like that. And in fact, as I recall, it was one of the highest, it was in the top 5 highest occupancies for a courtyard in the system at that time. So, hey, So the team did a phenomenal job, but it was time for me to leave. I was asked to leave and go to another hotel, but that's a time in the story for another day.